Hi guys, you're chilling with Will, and today I'm going to do a video on cigarettes versus e-cigs and the pros and cons. I don't really get into a lot of pros with the cigarettes, just FYI, and that's no discrimination toward people who smoke cigarettes. It's just simply for the fact that I don't find through research that there's really many pros at all when you compare the two. It's just not there, except for maybe preference if somebody's been a smoker for so many years. But I can't wait to share with you guys the data that I found, and I just honestly am excited to share this project because I worked very hard on it. So I hope you all enjoy it, and if requested, I can do a more extensive video on the particular e-cig that I picked out, how I purchased it, and kind of how you put it together, because it's a little confusing at first, especially with the coils and this and that. Without further ado, welcome to my project. Alright guys, so now I'm going to review the health risks of cigarettes. The first and most important one to know is obviously lung cancer, but also lung diseases such as shortness of breath, inability to eventually exercise, which does take time, but at least I'm talking about moderate exercise at first, and then any exercise later in the game, or exert one's body, and eventually a chronic illness called COPD, which stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. This disease makes breathing awfully hard for the body to perform during later stages of a cigarette smoker's lives. In studies conducted around the world, the smoke, tar, and over 5,000 ingredients found in cigarettes are known to harm almost every single organ in the body. So what can a cigarette smoker do to reduce the risks of these diseases? I'll show you in the next slide. Alright guys, this next slide is a lot of information at once, so bear with me, and let's hope I don't mess anything up with all the text. But a new study I strolled upon, published in Regulatory Toxicology and Pharmacology, looks at several leading American and British brands of e-cigarettes, and the alarming findings will blow any naysayers of e-cigarettes of all kinds, even the ones like the cheaper blue e-cigs that are not as healthy, I'm told, by vaporizer shops as the more expensive, reliable mods or kits. And it found that this even blue e-cigs emit heavy levels or contaminants in a similar level to what normal air we breathe in produces. In fact, the end results were less than 0.17 milligrams versus 0.16 milligrams found in ambient air, I'm assuming across the world, meaning big cities may even administer worse heavy metals to our bodies than an e-cigarette would. Amazing what a little research has taught me by doing this video. For a comparison, the Marlboro Gold brand cigarettes were found to generate around 2,000 times as much the measured 8 kinds of HPHCs, which are heavy metals, carbon monoxide, carbonyls, phenolics, volatiles, metals, tobacco-specific nitrosamines, polyaromatic amines, and polyaromatic hydrocarbons. According to the e-cigarette activist website, the studies included in their webpage, as like the one I quoted, are all reasons why e-cigarettes should not be demonized as just the lesser but more expensive of two evils, but also as a potential lifesaver for those who still crave or want to enjoy or take nicotine, such as the inventor of the e-cigarette, who invented it in 2003 at 52 years old, seeing his dad die a harsh death of lung cancer. Disclaimer though, I am in no way encouraging kids or impressionable individuals to start a habit of nicotine just because e-cigs appear thus far to be relatively safe beyond comparisons even to air quality in the study above. Now, it wouldn't be fair to discuss the benefits of these devices without taking a heavy look into the potential cons of using such a device. Generally safe does not translate into the same thing as abstinence, the ultimate goal of someone dependent on nicotine will likely want to achieve someday. If not, that's fine too. Our bodies, our choice, right? So, no discrimination here. No worries, guys. Just trying to spread information. All right, so one of the first things that I'd like to address is that they do have the possibility to emit higher levels of formaldehyde in one study, but this was later debunked as it was only found in traceable amounts on wattages and settings turned up to the point that nobody who uses one would enjoy the experience. Also, this particular study was rumored to be funded by Philip Morris, which is, as we know, the leading tobacco industry in the United States. And they're probably, I feel, firing back at the advent and widespread usage of e-cigarettes in our society. Second, nicotine in vaping, although I talked about its general safety, is not recommended, nor is it safe during pregnancy, and it can cause some of the same birth defects in smoking mothers, I'm assuming from the nicotine. And children and young adults should not use nicotine, as warned by lung.org, the American Lung Society, as nicotine could alter their brain chemistry or harm development until they're well into adulthood. So I would recommend about age 20 for safety, unless one is already addicted to cigarettes under that age. At that point, I would recommend harm reduction greatly, which would translate to using an e-cigarette. Personally, when I once bought cheaper juices, as the third point, which I found out from a vapor shop, not the smoke shop that I bought it at, that these contain higher levels generally of propylene glycol, which is also used in eye drops, generally safe for consumption and found in most e-juices unless you find organic kinds. However, the amount of propylene glycol in this cheaper version made me cough for the first time ever since switching to e-cigarettes, and I noticed that my device, if turned up to the level I generally vape at, that the cheaper liquids can become somewhat burnt and the flavor is lost in the sensation. My advice is to always buy from a reputable, high-rated vaporizer lounge or shop. Do not make my last mistake of thinking that the cheaper buy would be just as good, because it turned out to ruin my experience with the device while using it. Fourth, people who are bored or prone to overuse the device may find themselves inhaling more nicotine, aka getting more addicted and needing more faster than a cigarette user progresses. This may be unlikely, but it is a possibility. It is still healthier, number 5, to abstain from e-cigarettes compared to non-smokers, even if this margin is and will continue to become lower and safer, or as previous studies suggested, be similar to living in an area with average or worse air quality as a non-smoker. Although cigarettes contain thousands of chemicals potentially addictive, its main addictive property, as well as an e-cigarette, is the nicotine. Addictions aren't positive, but as they say, everyone seems to be addicted to something, whether that be food, video games, sugar, adrenaline, and even exercise. Even though exercise and some of these things are good for you, there is really technically, by textbook, no healthy addiction, as an addiction means it takes a chunk and a priority out of your everyday life. The good news is that they do make e-juices that make it easy to transition off the nicotine completely. But as I've seen in long-term regular smokers or vapors, the addiction's cravings can still be an everyday problem. Abstinence from cigarettes or e-cigs are the ultimate way to go. But for some who can't seem to kick the habit or don't want to at the current time being, surely using an e-cigarette is less problematic. So much so that a study by Public Health England found that e-cigs are up to 95% safer than a cigarette across the board and may become even safer in the near future. I hope this video was informative and can help at least one smoker struggling to quit or who wants a safer replacement that is healthier for their body inside and out. And as was discussed earlier, cigarettes do harm every organ in the body, and that is not found yet to be the same case for e-cigarettes. But we haven't had quite enough time to study them, although the Chinese and the English seem to be ahead of the curve of America as far as studies and findings are concerned. That's what I learned through my research, at least. So I wish you guys a lovely day, and I really hope that this video was informative to at least one viewer. That's my goal here, and I spent a lot of time creating this, so I hope you guys watch it fully through and enjoy this video.
But we can never go nowhere unless we share with each other. We gotta